Hey guys, guess what? Last video, what up? All right, we are getting to Vietnam, Nam, the war in Vietnam, whatever you want to call it. Oh, this is my favorite. All right, anyway, without further ado, let's get to getting because I have a feeling this might be a long one. All right, background information on Vietnam. All right. Oh, there's my dog. Imperialism messed up Vietnam, all right, as it did with a lot of other countries around the world. It was under French control for like a whole lot of years, all right. Then it was briefly under the control of Japan, then us, and then the Soviet influence, the Soviet Union, all right. We got involved. Come here. Come see everyone. He's not going to come. Here's Lloyd. Hi, Lloyd. Step up. Step up. Anyway. This is Lloyd. He is my dog. And he's a good boy. Yes, he is. All right. So anyway, we were involved in Vietnam for 20 years, from 1955 until 1975. Actual fighting with the Vietnam War lasted from 1963 to 1973. You're hot. How about you go drink some water or something? All right, Vietnam leader. Sorry about that, guys. All right, pictured on the top is Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh was the communist leader from North Vietnam, or NV as I lovingly call it. This guy wanted to unite both North and South Vietnam, make them one Vietnam. All right, he supported the Viet Cong's forces in South Vietnam. The Viet Cong, they're just rebel soldiers in the South who supported the communist government in the North. In the South, we have a Democratic leader. I say Democratic leader because guess what? He was basically a dictator and he sucked. All right. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but I'm going to try. Ngo Dinh Diem? Close enough? He was the leader of South Vietnam, or SV. This guy hated communism, and so naturally, we supported the guy for it. All right. Similar hatred there is what fuels the best friendships. Anyway, this guy sucked and was wildly unpopular, all right? By 1962, 75% of all people living in South Vietnam preferred communism over that guy. 75% of an entire region of a country, South Vietnam, 75% wanted communism. Keep that in mind as we continue on with this slide. Okay, here is the super famous picture from this time period and is also considered to be one of the most influential photographs of all time. All right, that guy I just showed you, the leader of South Vietnam, I'm going to call him Dinh Diem because I really don't want to butcher his name any further. He banned Buddhism in South Vietnam. He made Christianity the main religion. However, Buddhism was like a huge population of the people there. So this is a picture of a Buddhist monk protesting by lighting himself on fire. All right. To kind of show you that this guy would rather die than live with Dinh Diem as the leader. Okay. So this picture packs a huge punch to everything. Now, since I am not your U.S. history teacher, okay, you will learn way more details about this in 11th grade with Mr. Sheehan or Mr. Baggy, whoever. All right, so that's why I'm kind of condensing all of my Vietnam knowledge into like a few slides. So bear with me on this, all right? We got the Gulf of Tonkin incident that happened on August 2nd, 1964, all right? A U.S. ship claimed to have been attacked by a North Vietnamese ship. It was later found out that this never actually happened. There is a documentary that I would have made you watch some of called The Fog of War, and it was actually a documentary of Robert McNamara, the U.S. Secretary of Defense during the Vietnam War era. And he's interviewing for this documentary, and they ask him about the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And he actually starts breaking down and starts crying. He's like, this never actually happened. And then you hear real audio recordings of the people on the ship, okay, the USS Maddox, okay, talking to Washington, D.C. We've been attacked. And the guy in Washington, D.C. is like, are you sure? And the people in the Gulf of Tonkin, the body of water off the coast of Vietnam, said, yes, I think. I'm not trying to throw my personal opinions on you, but the most unpopular war in our nation's history was started off of a guy off the coast of Vietnam saying, yes, I think. don't you think you'd want to be a little more positive that it actually happened? Like, I feel like if your ship was attacked, you would know, right? Like, if you were torpedoed, you would definitely know. That wouldn't be something like, I don't know. Like, you would know. 2 days later, we got the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. President Lyndon B. Johnson pictured right. He was the vice president under Kennedy. Okay, but remember, Kennedy was assassinated, RIP, in 1963. Anyway, Lyndon Johnson authorized armed attacks and defense measures against North Vietnam. Fine, this means more. You want to attack us? We'll attack you. Lyndon B. Johnson was kind of itching for war. Kennedy was trying to avoid it at all costs. But I mean, politicians, right? So anyway, we got involved. Okay, and fighting started roughly around that time. Okay, I'm just telling you the most important thing here. Well, the most significant thing that happened in Vietnam was the Tet Offensive of 1968. This was a surprise attack by the North Vietnamese Army, the NVA, and they tried surprising us in South Vietnam on their Vietnamese New Year's holiday, Tet. It's the Vietnamese New Year, all right? What had happened, though? We counterattacked and we ended up killing a lot of people. And this became one of the most unpopular things of the entire war. And this basically kickstarted the hippie movement in the United States. The peace and love, man, those people, right? Because people back home, this was the first ever televised war. Okay. Prior to Vietnam, right, we only heard what was happening through the media on the radio or the president, okay, or in the newspaper. But by the 1960s, almost every home in the United States had a TV of some sorts. And so every night on the evening news, you would see video clips from Vietnam. Okay, every single day they would have a list of names of soldiers who died in combat, right, or who went missing, okay, or was captured, right, every single day. So this war was so unpopular, and if you've ever heard any stigma about the Vietnam War, it is because of the TV, right? As we are seeing today, people are super influenced by what they see and read on the media, social media to be more exact, right? It's creating a huge divide in our nation over the coronavirus, right? Some people think it's a sham and they should just reopen all businesses like before. Other people are taking it more seriously, right? And that's all because of a lot of different things, but the media is not helping, right? You turn on the evening news every day here, and I feel like all they talk about is the coronavirus, right? How many new cases do they have? How many deaths? How many hospitalizations? What to do about the world basically ending, okay? Everywhere you go, no matter who you support, no matter which news network you watch, whether it's Fox, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, there's so many. Anyway, right? The media influences the opinion, okay? And same with Vietnam, and that's why this is such an unpopular war, all right? We later found out in the early 1970s that the real goal of us getting involved in Vietnam was not because of the Gulf of Tonkin incident that we wanted to seek revenge. It was actually just to contain China. That's it, okay? That's literally it. No real reason, just to contain China. Okay, so this war is, again, definitely a controversial topic, and there are a lot, like the history surrounding this, and this is what made the 1960s such an interesting decade to learn about, and the music to be so phenomenal. Anyway, I posted a link there, NV North Vietnam Fighting Tactics. All right, there is no talking in it, it's all reading, but it showed you the brutality of the war. The North Vietnamese, Charlie, as we called them, used a lot of booby traps, and they're kind of insane. So it kind of gives you an image or an idea of what fighting in Vietnam actually looked like. And then, of course, warning, the next two slides contain some graphic images and videos. All right. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because, again, I'm not your U.S. history teacher, okay? I'm just a world history teacher, so I'm trying to not be American-centric, right? Picture top left is napalm. Napalm is a jelly-like substance. It almost looks like Vaseline, right? Like a petroleum jelly. Super sticky, hard to get off your skin, and is super, super flammable. Okay, so the United States would actually dump napalm and incendiary bombs that cause fires, onto the people of Vietnam. Okay. It was so flammable that even if you went underwater, the fire would still be going. Yes, that can actually happen. All right. The picture right below it, black and white again, sorry, it is a little graphic. But this is one of the most famous pictures of the entire 20th century, alongside with the picture of the burning monk that I showed you. These are children who just got doused in napalm. So if they ever go around anything that ignites flames, they would go up in flames as well. And this is powerful because it's showing you that this isn't just a war between adults, humans, like kids aren't humans. Anyway, this wasn't just a war between adults. It was affecting everybody in Vietnam, including small innocent children who are doing nothing wrong. The picture in the middle is Agent Orange. It is named Agent Orange because of the orange barrel it came in. No, the chemical itself is not orange. What this did was kill all vegetation, trees, plants, bushes, you name it, whatever, destroyed them all. Vietnam is all dense jungle. Okay, it sits right near the equator, so it's all tropical jungle. It's hot, it's humid, it rains a lot of jungle, and it makes it very hard to see the enemy. Okay, this is one of the huge reasons why we lost this war. Spoiler alert, we lost this war big time. But anyway, Agent Orange, we tried killing the vegetation with that. However, with that, we're dumping chemicals on not only vegetation, but people as well. Because we couldn't see any people living below the tree line. So we dumped a bunch of chemicals on people. And if you know anything about chemicals, that's not a good thing to do, right? Chemicals, if you're exposed to them for long periods of time, can cause burns, interior defects, right? Cancers, okay? Pictured here on the bottom right is a child born without eyes. Fun fact about birth defects. Let's say you're exposed to this Agent Orange pesticide and you have a kid. That kid has a strong chance of getting birth defects. Then that kid grows up and has a kid of their own. The birth defects get worse every generation that they get passed down to. So this kid is probably like a third generation Agent Orange victim. Okay, born without actual eyes as a result of the United States dropping Agent Orange, a pesticide, on them. I'm sorry, an herbicide. This war is highly debated. It is super controversial, and there are definitely two sides to every story, right? I'm not trying to say the United States was the worst government in the entire world for starting this war. I'm not saying that, right? And I'm also not sympathizing with the communists, but I'll let you determine for yourself about this war, all right? It is very controversial. So the United States ended up losing this war. Here is a video from my personal favorite movie of all time, Forrest Gump. All right. This movie won an Academy Award for Best Picture. Tom Hanks is in it. I love Tom Hanks. Anyway, this scene depicts a fighting scene in Vietnam. There are some graphic images and also some graphic language as well, because shocking, when people are being shot at, they tend to say a lot of bad things, right? So anyway, just watch with caution. The movie is rated R, so again, just be careful with it, but it also kind of shows what war was like in Vietnam. And that is Vietnam. And to quote from Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. Last slide that I'm going to talk to y'all about, proxy wars. All right, from Vietnam, right? These, I only talked about the major points, right? The Cold War, again, lasted from 1945 until 1991, right? So in that time, we talked about China, we talked about Korea, Cuba, Berlin, Vietnam. However, there were other places around the world that were affected by us trying to stop communism. Remember, the Truman Doctrine allowed us to stop the spread of communism, all right? So here are some more famous examples. Guatemala, 1954, we tried to oust multiple leaders. Jacobo Arbenz is the one that's coming to my mind. I actually took a whole grad school class on this. And I actually highly recommend that you all research that. It's another way of showing you that the CIA had no idea what they were doing to try and stop communism. And it was actually a terrible thing that they did to the country of Guatemala. Again, I highly recommend you all research that. It's actually very interesting and also kind of messed up, right? Then we have a country that, oh God, y'all, I really struggle to say, and I'm so sorry, Nicaragua? that country, right? 1961 to 1990, right? They sympathized with communists. We had a main issue with that. Both of those countries are, of course, Guatemala and Nicaragua, are in Central America. Then we have Afghanistan. I mentioned a little bit more about this just because I want you guys to know this is so messed up, right? We went to extreme measures to stop the spread of communism because we were so fearful of it. Granted, rightfully so, communism comes bloody overthrows of governments and radical dictators, and those are all things that the United States is firmly against to this day because that sounds awful, right? However, in Afghanistan, 1979, the Soviet Union invades Afghanistan. Yes, the Afghanistan in the Middle East, right? Now, we supported the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen was a rebel group who hated communism, right? A lot. So we gave them our weapons. We trained them how to use our weapons. All right. Eventually, they were successful in getting the Soviet Union out of Afghanistan, 1989. However, some members of the Mujahideen went on to later form the group Al-Qaeda. Most famously, Osama bin Laden was a part of the Mujahideen. Okay? We trained them how to use our weapons and then they used them against us. But it was to stop communism and we were successful. Afghanistan did not become a communist country. And then Grenada in 1983 as well for another proxy war. Remember, a proxy war is just when the United States and the Soviet Union are just trying to spread their influence worldwide, and they do so by using other countries as their pawns, as you can say, and as you can see in this picture as well. Those are the tensions of the Cold War. Stay tuned for more.